Hi everyone, Paul Wright here, author, mentor and creator of the Practiceology program, and welcome to this episode of the Preferred Employer series, where we speak to some of the most successful allied health business owners in Australia about how they became a preferred employer. In today's episode, I'm joined by the great Mitch Hancock, owner of Gulf and Ranges Optometry in beautiful Port Augusta, South Australia. Mitch, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for joining us in the centre of the universe, as we say Port Augusta is.
I'll do the formal introduction to Mitch before we get into it. Mitch has 26 years in practice, and he's the co-owner of Gulf and Ranges Optometry with his long-suffering wife, Tiffany. He's a visiting lecturer at Flinders University. He has a special interest and is leading the way with the latest optom technology. They're among the first private optom practices in Australia to use OCT. The first optoms in Australia to run a formal post-surgical co-management program for cataract surgery, and they provide optical services to one of the largest regional areas in Australia. So, mate, as a preferred employer, tell us before you do that, a bit about the history of Gulf and Ranges Optom in Port Augusta. So how did you end up in Port Augusta?
Well, the short of it is when you grew up in a regional town, and money wasn't exactly abundant. I worked jobs and stuff and to pay my way through university, and I got to about into my third year, and I could look at the finances and how much I could earn in holidays, and I was going to have to take a year off to finish my degree. And fortunately, a company from South Australia, sort of a family-ish sort of business of a medium size, were looking for people to come to South Australia, and I did, and I wasn't long here working in and out of Adelaide when they said, oh, well, there's opportunity in this regional town, do you want to go? And I was like, yep, I've had enough of I want to get into sport and get it back into meeting people and being part of community. I couldn't wait, and ended up in Port Augusta for a few years.
And you were the youngest practice manager in history in that company?
Yeah. The practice that group had about 100 practices across Australia, and I was the youngest one ever to become a practice manager and running a practice. I was about 4.5 months out of uni, and I got handed this thing. I think they expected us to fail. I think South Australia was in the grip of quite a significant economic recession at the time because of state bank collapse and a few other things, but. Yeah, we managed to do okay, and I think we were 25% up every month for the first 6 months, and that kept the bosses off my backs for a bit.
All right, so as a preferred employer, like you do really well as a regional practice owner. What are the benefits of being a regional optometrist compared to being a city-based professional?
I think really it's all about community. You certainly become part of the community. You're a certainly respected part of the community. My children complain it takes an awful long time to get down the supermarket aisles if you go, because you meet people and people say hello, and you really you get to be known and you get to know people. And in reality, that's what being a regional independent optometrist is. It's about those relationships, the fact that you're actually part of a bigger, broader scheme of trying to make sure that regional health is serviced well and is fantastic. Often regional health is a bit of the poor cousin of the city, but certainly with optometry you have the ability to make it fantastic and make it world standard, and to provide an amazing experience for clients, and particularly have an amazing experience yourself, because you just get the breadth and depth of being able to do just about everything. So it's fantastic.
And so there's a lot of clinical diversity. So your staff get a lot of exposure to the things they wouldn't get if they're in a city practice?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and particularly, I say it's the centre of the universe, Port Augusta, but basically someone leaving Perth or leaving Alice Springs in their caravan or anywhere, coming from the eastern states, they all pass through Port Augusta. So any ocular emergency, or 6 weeks after their last, glaucoma surgery or whatever goes wrong, well, it all ends up in our practice. Plus, we get referrals being around for a long time from the GPs and stuff for the whole region. The Royal Flying Doctor Service we work very, very closely with as well. So they're often ringing up and triaging and sending patients, or even airlifting patients in to see us. And it's a really, really diverse practice. So yes, we have the run-of-the-mill stuff, and we've got the routine care, and we've got every bit of equipment under the sun to do that. But it's the diversity of patients. It's a very egalitarian place, Port Augusta. Friday night you can drink at the pub with anyone from the local paediatrician through to the bloke who digs the ditches, through to the bloke who works on the railways. It's and everyone's accepted. To be a local in Port Augusta, all you have to do is spend your weekends and be enthusiastic, and you're a local. It's a great place.
And I spoke to some of your team in preparation for this interview. That the thing they mentioned to me, longer appointment times and no weekends, where it was a big part of their attraction.
Yeah, it's very, I did do a weekend call out to spoil that on the weekend. Like I saw on Friday with an alkali burn, and fortunately he's done well. I just reviewed him on Saturday. I was coming down to do a couple of things anyway, so I sort of sorted it out. But yeah, certainly the staff never end up having to do the weekends and stuff, and certainly us, it's rare. So it's Monday to Fridays. It's we do in-house training. We do, so they get their CPD points up just from our, fortnightly Optom, get-togethers. It's
lots of experience in the country. You're also an independent Optom compared to one of the big franchise chains. What's the benefit of being independent compared to being part of one of the bigger chains?
I suppose relatively the big thing about being independent is you get to make the choices of where you want to head with the practice direction. And our direction has been, our mission really was to try and make sure that what we could provide as a regional health service in eye care would be above and beyond anything that was available in the city outside of someone who's the surgeon who does retinal detachments. Really, and that's what we've been able to achieve. So if that's what your mission is, you can invest in making that happen, whether that's in our own training, the staff's training, our Optom's training, and the equipment. Whereas relatively for a corporate or other things, the bottom line is it's the bottom line. It's about profit and return and shareholders, and is investing in this equipment about actually part of a marketing strategy, not about a healthcare strategy. So a lot of it's about having that flexibility to say, well, the accountant doesn't think that's a good idea, but it's a good idea for patients, and it's going to be a fun toy to play with, so let's just do it anyway.
So when you're recruiting, when you're looking for team members to join Gulf and Ranges, who's suited to regional optometry? Who are you looking for?
Yeah, it's someone who really wants to get in there, and I suppose you want someone who's thrilled by actually being involved in that next level care. A little scared. You don't want them to be too gung ho, but with support, be really prepared to have a go and do all the more complex things. But the other thing is relatively, working within a team, because again, it's a egalitarian sort of town, but it's also in the staff. Our frontline team, equally as important as our optometrists, and deserve equal levels of, camaraderie and respect and stuff. So we want people who think that they want to be part of a team, want to be part of a community, are prepared to commit some weekends and be involved and say yes when someone invites them to a barbecue, even though they look a bit rough around the edges, and find out, oh wow, these are great people, and you soon find you make friends and be involved in things. So if you're prepared to be involved, they're the people that prepared to have a go. They're the people we want.
Some of your team also mentioned that they just love the fact that there's no commute time, so they have such a better social network now because they're not spending hours and hours in traffic.
Yeah. Often the thought is, in the country, the social life is less good or whatever. But the reality, it's actually far better, because it's only 5 minutes to someone's place. You can catch up with two people on the same evening. I tend to catch up with someone after you've played a game of netball or social whatever it is. And you sometimes play two sports in an evening and still actually turn up for wine and drinks for dessert at a friend's place because they're having dinner. You're like, certainly in my younger days, pre-children, you get to do a lot in a short period of time. 5 minutes to anywhere is an amazing difference to people's day.
So what career opportunities? People might also think going to a regional practice, they don't get the same educational career opportunities. What career opportunities do you provide for your team at Gulf and Ranges Port Augusta?
Yeah, I suppose it's really that diversity of practice is a huge one. The fact that they actually get to see the whole of the practice. The frontline team are involved in obviously care with pre-testing and using technology, but also the optometrists are part of the frontline team. They learn about dispensing and sales techniques, and not that we want to be terribly salesy, but understanding what good customer service is, what actually makes the whole practice tick rather than just seeing that little bit. Our team meetings really emphasis on teamwork. We have 5 core values. The first one's fun, and the second one's teamwork, and continuous improvement, customer focus. So that really underpins what we do, and so what that flows through is the career opportunities are that they can be in a pathway to have being part of their own practice one day, or being skilled up to be a senior member of a team, to understand what a whole team is, understanding people management. And they get, obviously we have the opportunity for people to become junior partners in the years to come, and even senior partners if they wish to.
They also get to work with the visiting ophthalmologist on that. So they do surgical assisting?
Yeah, so one day a month or one day in 4 weeks, the visiting specialist is up, and they've got an awful lot of, one of the things that we've been able to do is achieve really low levels of wait lists for the visiting specialist, and that's because we do so much of the glaucoma management, so much of the AMD management, and so we hand it to them on a plate. But even with that, the visiting specialist can see 70 to 90 in a day, and he needs a bit of support. And so what happens is we send our optoms off to spend the day prepping them for injections, or doing the workups and triaging things there, and making the visiting specialist's life a bit easier so that he can see more patients and keep wait lists down and keep the quality of care up. And so it's great, and he's a very, very good teacher as well. So the girls and the optoms learn a lot, and they can see how things progress as well. They can see what he does to the referrals that we send in. So that's a really, really valuable. We've been doing that for quite a few years now, and that's been awesome.
You also have some of your team, they've completed the behavioural optom.
Yeah.
How does that work?
The practice founder, or the owner before me, had the practice for 40 odd years, and he was a very passionate optometrist about regional care, but also behavioural optometrist, which I was becoming a behavioural optometrist as well. And so we see that it's rare in the regions to get that, and so relatively we still see that's really important. As much as health is really important, the educational needs of children and helping children with difficulties, and understanding a more holistic approach to eye care is really important. So we generally try and fund our optometrists to do that and give them time to learn that, and obviously we mentor them through that as well. So that's a big part of the practice's history and culture, and that's something we've been passionate to continue as well.
You also get some extra funding, don't you? You get some extra rural funding for education.
Yeah, it's actually been very, very helpful. There are some grants and other funding that comes up really regularly. There's actually a lot of to try and support regional practitioners, from GPs through to optometrists through to OTs, and you name it, to do extra courses and training that's going to be of benefit to the regions. The girls have been, every time they've applied for a course or to partly fund a course or fully fund a course, they've been successful. So that's been a big bonus. We've also supported them as well to do it, but the fact that they've also had some top-up funding has been fantastic.
Do people often think, Mitch, if your optoms are going to go regional, that their wages won't be as good as the city? Is that the case?
No, that's absolutely not. Regional practices tend to have slightly better pay than the city, and their cost of living's a lot less. Rent's a lot less, and other expenses, running your car's a lot less. So as a general theme, the overall package is much better, and particularly when you throw in things like less commute time, less. We cover a few more of AOA fees and a few things like that, and so relatively their package is slightly better, but their take home, what's in their pocket after expenses, is significantly better.
What about the elephant in the room, Mitch? The lack of social life in Port Augusta or the country. You touched on it, the fact you can do lots of different sports, but is it really the case? Do you think, if I move to the country, I won't have access to this great social life?
No, the only struggle we have, and I think we've talked about this before, is if people try and basically don't get involved, then they won't have a social life. You know, if they're still doing 90% of what they want to do and 90% of who they communicate with and 90% of all their activities are going to be back in the city, and so they're trying to get out the door every at 5:31 on a Friday every week and driving back early on a Monday morning exhausted and then spending the next couple of days. Yeah, absolutely. They're going to find that, okay, it seems a bit dull. But the reality is when if you get involved, there are lots of usually other young health professionals who have come to the area as well, and you soon find each other out, and there's trips to Clare and wine tasting, and there's down to the footy, and there's, you know, oh, let's get involved in a mixed netball team on a Wednesday night, and then we'll have drinks afterwards. And, you know, it's very, very social, very, very easy. Things are, you know, easy to get to. You go to the pub and then you decide that, no, we actually decided we're going to walk home. Well, it's only a 5-minute walk with three of you, all past each other's house on the way, and it's nice and safe. And, you know, it's a great life, really.
Beautiful. Well, mate, I'm sold. How do we get involved? But so if you have optoms out there or support staff looking at getting a great opportunity in regional South Australia, how can they find out more about you? Where do they go to reach out to you?
Yeah, and they obviously can get involved by it's mitch@gulfandranges.com.au is the email address. It's probably the best way to reach out and let us know what, who you are, and tell us a little bit about what you're interested in, and obviously we'll get back to you, ASAP. But yeah, that's probably the best one, is via the email address. There, obviously, we're on LinkedIn and a few other things, but I think, yeah, old school email still works for an old bloke like me.
And you can see why you guys do so well with your recruitment, because your culture is, you do a lot of work on your culture, your team building. You're very big on that, so it pays dividends for you guys. That's why you're a preferred employer.
Yeah, we have an hour staff meeting every week, and every week we work through what have we done as a business to touch on our core values, and each week we pick a different core value and we go through and we talk about what we've done to live that, and then if we we do, and fun being, we plan for fun. We had. It was winter solstice a couple of weeks ago, and we had pajama day, which we do most years. We dress up as superheroes for Children's Week every so often. We just try and make sure that what we do is serious, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be fun for patients and for us, and everyone. Even when the news is difficult, if you're starting with that for patients, it reduces the tension. So we're big believers on culture.
What's the email address, Mitch, again for you at Gulf and Ranges, Port Augusta?
Mitch@Gulf, GULF, AND, Ranges, RANGES. We're not the Lone Rangers, so there's no R on the end of Ranges.com.au. And obviously you can go to the website and stuff and flick an email to the reception team if you really can't find us any other way. But reach out, give us a call, leave a message with the staff, and you should be able to get hold of us pretty easy.
Mitch Hancock, thanks for joining us on the Preferred Employer Series.
Thanks, Paul. Cheers.